Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. Today we are exploring following our bliss, a follow-up on last week, and the phrase Sat Chit Ananda. It's Sanskrit words. Let's find out what it means. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and I love helping people love their life and live their passion. I love helping people see that right where they are, doing exactly what they're doing, being with whoever they are with, they can find joy, peace, and bliss. Not even changing anything, well, except their mind. Joy, peace, love, creativity, it's all our nature. It's who and what we are. And before we get any further today, I'm going to ask you something I've been asking lately. Who are you being as you listen to this? Who are you being? Are you present to what may come up for you in this? Are you open-minded? Are you excited to find something that may help you love your life and live your passion? Because what we look for, we always find. Last week, I talked about following our bliss, and I talked about how our bliss, our joy, is always available to us. It's who and what we are. It's the nature of being itself. It's our inheritance, if you will, from God. We are created in the image and likeness of God itself. Therefore, we are joy, we are peace, we are creativity, we are the divine emanation of spirit. And right where we are is our bliss. And there is a phrase, Sanskrit phrase, Sat Chit Ananda, and it's been translated by many people. And ultimately, most people have come to the conclusion, a modern day translation is something like Sat is being or God or spirit. It's ever presence. It's what is beingness, so to speak. Chit is consciousness or awareness, ever present consciousness, ever present awareness. And Ananda is almost always translated as bliss. And this may be where Joseph Campbell really got the idea of following our bliss. It is our revealing our nature, might be another way of even saying that. But sometimes for spiritual seekers, bliss is such a charged word. Even if you're not a spiritual seeker, if somebody says, follow your bliss, you're thinking, oh, I have to be ecstatic. I have to be joyful, exuberant, blissful, in ecstasy, all these words, right? That comes up from the word bliss. And in truth, I believe, and I think many others, that that word, charged as it is, isn't really accurate, because in my experience, when my mind is not in judgments, in attachments, reactions, and resistance, I call that the jar, staying out of the jar, judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance. When my mind is really released from all of that, what's left? What is there? What's present? And that, my friends, is joy. It's bliss. It's peace. It's the peace that passes all understanding, because I don't need it to be a beautiful sunny day. I don't need to be winning the lottery. I don't need to be free from the children running around screaming or from the roof leaking to have peace or joy or happiness. I just need to be free of my judgments about all of that, or my attachments to things being, looking just like this. And if things look just like this, I can be happy. But how often are things going to look just like this? It's just not that often. Life is living itself in this myriad of ways that we cannot even begin to control or to align or to manipulate. So when we release attachments, when we release our judgments that something is not right, that something is not good, that something is not pleasing to me, when we release our reactions to, oh, someone said this to me and I'm hurt, my feelings are hurt, or I'm angry, they said I was undisciplined, or they said I was not intelligent, or they said I was too old. It's like, oh, well, when I go into reaction about that, my mind is not clearly in peace or bliss or joy or creativity. My mind is taking over in judgment of what they have said, whether they meant it or not. Most of the time, what we are reacting to is what we heard. But what we heard isn't often what is actually said, and it's almost never what was meant. So we're making stuff up all the time. So when we release making stuff up, if we hear you are too old for this position, let's just say you apply for a job, and that's what you actually hear. Maybe they wrote it in an email, which would be extremely unusual, but let's just use this as an example. And that's what they said. It's my reaction to that. No, I'm not. They don't know who I am. They don't know anything about me. I have a young energy. I have young idea, whatever it is. It's my mind. It's my mind's thoughts about that. Or I can just know that I didn't get the job or I'm not being considered for this position and move on with zero attachment, zero judgment, zero reaction, not resisting what has come. It doesn't mean I may not send a reply email stating my credentials or whatever I feel called to do. But what I am called to do is coming from a release of judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance, right? You see the difference, right? I may let that completely go, moving on, or I may engage in another email or a commentary or a comment or a phone call if I am inspired from within without judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance. If I am inspired, then that might be just an eye opener for them. It might be to awaken them to something else in my resume that they may have missed, right? That idea of bliss being ecstasy or being some state of consciousness that is not normal is a misconception. It's sure, there are yogis in India and other places that may be sitting for days or weeks or months or for years without food, without water, sitting with a smile on their face, and they're sitting on a rock somewhere, not feeling the cold or the heat or the wind or the bugs or whatever, right? That may be, but how does that serve us? How does that serve me in my life? And again, I let go of the question of how does that serve them? I have no idea. But I know for me that that idea of ecstasy is not my idea. My idea is that simple, sweet, perfectly normal sense of when my mind is released from these judgments, from the thinking that something is right or wrong, thinking that something is good or bad, thinking that the weather should be different, thinking that if everything would just stay the same, I could be happy. When my mind lets all of those things go, and I am having a cup of tea, or my neighbor is coming over, or I'm trying to get in my car through a rainstorm and I'm soaking wet. When all of those things are happening and I have no thoughts about that, what is happening? There is a simple awareness of being, and that is joy. It's peace. It's simple. It's right here. It's right now. It's in this moment, doing whatever I am doing, being with whoever I am with, without needing to change anything. I am at peace. I am experiencing a oneness with the rain or the storm or the car or the dog or the employer or the business meeting or the sales call, whatever it is. That simplicity is available to us all the time. But how much time do we spend in a day worrying, in anxiety? What if? What if my air conditioner goes out? What if I don't get the job? What if they think I'm too old? What if, and we put ourselves, so then we start thinking, well, what am I going to do? What would happen? Where would I apply? Should I lie about my age? We go through these things. That is not joyful. It is not blissful. It is not peaceful, right? So we know that when our mind is running and running and running and attached to all the what ifs, it's creating anxiety and stress. Now, I don't know of anyone who says anxiety and stress is good for us. I don't know anyone who says anxiety and stress is our true nature. It's just not. So when we learn to become the observer, we watch. It doesn't mean our mind won't go and do that. Our mind may say, oh, the neighbors, two of my, and this did happen, two of my neighbors' ACs went out. Luckily, we're early in the season, but their ACs went out. If my mind, what about my AC? Is my AC, gonna conk out this year? Do I have the money in the bank? Let me think. What about the savings? What about if I let my mind just keep going and I engage in that, my heart rate goes up, my shoulders tense, my body is contracting, that I'm participating in something that doesn't even exist, right? Which is what anxiety is, fear. That's what fear is. But when I see this truck, I see my neighbor going through this, and I'll bring over some iced tea and be a comfort for them while they're spending X number of thousands of dollars replacing their 20-year-old unit. I can participate. I can have knowledge of without anxiety. That is joy. That's just being with the present moment, right here, right now, with all of who I am, with my creative energy, with my ability to have compassion with someone, for someone, in a situation, for myself. That's peace. That's living in harmony. That's seeing a oneness all around me, in me, and through me. That is what I think is translated as bliss, but more accurately, it might just be harmony. It might just be a ceasing of that mental noise. The ceasing of the mental noise is bliss. So another component for me in following my bliss is having plenty of time during the day, whether it's moments in the car, whether it's moments before I walk the dog or while I'm walking the dog, whether it's right before I exercise and during exercise. I'm just thinking of all the different times, certainly set times in the morning when I get my coffee and I sit, I'm going to relax with a book or not reading the book, just being still and allowing my mind to relax and allowing the presence of beingness to be louder, which sounds kind of funny when I say it that way, but being is more filling and fulfilling than the noise of the finite mind or the ego that says you should be doing this, you should be returning phone calls, you should be watching that video, you should be replying to those emails, you should be doing your bills, you should be making more money. And then out of every one of those comments I can just go off into all these realms, calling people, asking questions, doing these things. But I create time in my day to be, to be. And that is Satchit Ananda. That is being and conscious awareness. And that is joy and in being present. That is the fullness of life in being. That way, I bring the fullness of my life, of this body expression, of this body mind, into the activities that I know I have to do today. I look at my schedule and I say, oh, well, this might be a little stressful when I have to go see my accountants. This might be a little stressful when I have to go see the in-laws, or I have to go for a cancer screening. I know what's coming up. So instead of allowing my mind to create resistance or judgments or attachments to nothing, nothing in my health has changed. I'm just going to declare it. I'm going to know it. We get into these, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to create this. I'm going to say it 1,000 times. And we get into that making or manipulating stage. It's like, I'll just be. I'll just be present. I'll just be. That is Satchitananda. That is our bliss. And when I take time to follow that, to know where it comes from, it's in the silence, it's in the stillness. And then I can recognize it in every moment, in every single moment. So that Satchitananda never goes away. When I say it's our birthright, it's who we are. It's who and what we are. It's every fiber of our being is joy, peace, bliss, awareness, consciousness, pure. It's who and what we are. Now we think it goes away. We think, oh, it wasn't there when I got the diagnosis. It wasn't there when I was caught in that automobile wreck. It wasn't that. Yes, it was. The mind, the finite mind, the ego was so loud, we couldn't sense and feel that the simple harmony or peace or joy that was in that moment. So it never leaves us. We step away. We walk over here into the cacophony of our mind. And we think, oh, there's no God here. There's no presence here. There's no love here. It's always right where we are. It can't leave us ever. We can drown out the simple awareness of joy with anxiety, with judgments, with reactions and resistance. So that's why we practice being the observer. And I talk about this a lot. Being the observer is that idea that I can hear when my mind is going into overdrive. I can look at my calendar for the day. Oh, when I have this meeting, sometimes this person or that person, has triggered me in the past. I can bring this awareness from this meditation right into that meeting. I can bring this unconditional love that I know is my birthright, I can start blessing the meeting now. I can start blessing the interaction now. I can start blessing that person now, and I can bless myself for who I have been, how I have shown up in the past, and forgive myself and allow myself this time to be beingness, awareness, consciously aware of the presence of joy, of peace, of harmony, and of goodwill that is always available. I am in it and with it. It is breathing me, and I bring that awareness into this particularly difficult situation. Now we're following our bliss, right? Our bliss isn't always what gives us pleasure, right? It's not like, well, I need to go get a massage, because I need to, if I'm really stressed out, I don't have time for a massage. I don't have money for a massage, whatever those things are. You don't need to fix it. We can just be with the bliss that is always available to us now. Our joy doesn't come from out there, the massage, the vacation, the group of friends that is always accepting, the one friend that always makes us laugh, the overindulgence in the pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream or whatever the ice cream of choice is these days, right? It's not in the pleasure, it's here. It is without external uh, stimulation. It's without anything happening out there. It's within. Following our bliss is turning within. That's where the truth of our being is so easy to be with, to experience, to hear. It's called a small, still voice, only because it's called a small, still voice only when we compare it to the TV and the news and the phone calls and the emails and all the external things. Those feel loud to us when we have the television on or the radio on or the music on or um, all the things out there feel like they're coming at us. Then that which is within feels like a small, still voice. But the more time we spend in being stillness, that voice is not small. It is not still. It is ever present, always guiding and directing us to our highest good. It is louder than anything else. It's louder than our fear. It's louder than our doubt. It's louder than the politicians and the news and the in-laws and the ex-boyfriend, right? That small, still voice is like a lighthouse beckoning, calling, speaking another language, though. It's speaking a language of unconditional love, of the peace that passes human understanding, because we can't experience that peace by intellectually conceptualizing that peace, saying, well, I need a vacation and then I can experience peace. I need everyone to be quiet so that I can experience my peace. I need to not go to that board meeting and then I'll be peaceful. I need to not hear the outcome of that vote and then I can be in my peace. And you may need to do those things. I'm not saying that, but your peace is always with you. And it's the peace that cannot be rationalized, planned, um, conceptualized. It's always available when we're letting go of that which is in the way. And I use that example of standing on the garden hose. We're in the garden, and we're watering everything, and everything seems to be growing just beautifully. And all of a sudden, we're shifting our focus and moving our attention, and all of a sudden, it's like there's nothing coming out. It's like, where's the supply? Where's the water? What? It's stopped. It's not here anymore. I can't find it. And we're like, step off the hose. Just shift a little bit. Shift your weight. Step off the hose, and that which is ever present will will let itself be known once again. It's us having to move, having to shift. And it's like, oh, that feels so good. That's bliss. That's joy. That's peace. It's not extraordinary. And yet, compared to some people who can't seem to turn their mind off even for a moment, it might feel like it's extraordinary. But it is the last moment before we decide to go to sleep, and we close our eyes and we allow ourselves that moment to not think one more work thought, to not think one more thought about what we didn't accomplish today, to not think one more thought about what we could have done in this situation or that situation. It's that moment when we let it go, and it's the shoulders drop. The head sinks into the pillow. The breathing becomes deeper, and we allow ourselves to rest and fall into bliss, sometimes known as sleep. you know? And we can experience that more and more often, not just as we're going to sleep. We can tell ourselves, let go. Let go right now. I'm about to eat lunch. I know that business meeting will continue in an hour, but for 1 hour, I can enjoy the birds singing and the sunshine, and I can look at this beautiful food that's going to nourish my body, and I can enjoy, I can release everything that has come before this moment. I can be grateful for this body, for this sunshine, for this food. I can let everything go and be present now. Satchitananda, it's right here. My bliss is right here. And then when I allow myself to be nourished in that moment, I am fortified in spirit. And now I bring this Satchitananda to the meeting, to the doctor's office, to whatever it is that is next. But for this moment, I am following my bliss. My bliss is right here, right now. And as I stand up, it is with me. As um, I trip over the garden hose because I'm not completely where my mind is on getting where I'm going, I bring myself back to the moment, maybe with a smile or a giggle. It's like, whew, that was close. And I decide I'm going to be even more aware. I'm going to take in my surroundings. I'm going to allow myself to enjoy this and every moment. And I open the door to the meeting, and the air conditioning hits me, and I enjoy that there is a shelter from the weather. And I open another door to the meeting, and I look at the faces differently now. I can see and know and sense and feel the presence of God is right here. Satchitananda, it's right here. I may have to answer for some things that have happened in my business, or for a team that was under my guidance. I may have to change some things. I may have to fire someone or be let go or fired. And if I am really, truly present, I can do it all in love, in love. And I can know and sense my highest good is unfolding even now. When we can't sense it is when someone says, hey, we've concurred that we're going to have to let you go. We don't feel like it's really working out. And I start blaming, I start judging, I start yelling, I'm raising my voice, I'm talking about this person who did this to me and that person and that situation. There's no bliss. There's no bliss there. There's no happiness, whether you get another shot or whether they call security and escort you out. There's no bliss. Let's allow ourselves to be in love. And there is not one master, whether you're a big fan of Jesus, a big fan of Buddha, Kuan Yin, a big fan of Krishna. There's or the Hindu gods or Allah, the prophet. There isn't one who did not know and teach that unconditional love is always available to us and through us. We are always able to speak, to act in unconditional love. And whether we are guided to speak directly, which may be considered by some harshly, if we are speaking from our truth, our joy, our peace, our power, and unconditional love, we know that what we say needed to be said through us. It was ours to say, and we have no regret. But when we call people names, when we're telling people, blaming them for things that they did 5 years ago that we've already had a conversation about, when we're bringing up situations that may or may not have happened in accordance to our particular views, we're not in peace. We're not in our power. We're not in alignment with the truth of our being. So following our bliss isn't an idealistic way to live. It's not utopia. It's our nature. It's who we are. It's being authentic to the truth of who we are. And that's why bliss with every single person looks different. And I'll talk about spiritual leaders. They have different personalities. They have different ways of teaching. Some might be considered some um, Zen masters or Buddhist teachers might be considered really strict or really harsh or really direct. Some might be considered so loving that people might say they're ineffectual. Some might be joyful. Some might be very hyperactive. They have so much energy. All these things. It's because while we are all made in the image of likeness of God, God is not one image. God is everything, everywhere, all the time. So, as many billions of ways as life exists, is the billions of ways and feelings and energies that God is. Isn't that fun? Isn't that amazing? So we can know that we can be our authentic expression of love, peace, joy, power, creativity, harmony, all of these things in a way that serves us and everyone around us. We can call that up all the time. We can feel complete in that regardless of how the situation turns out. And I was going to say ends. In other words, a board meeting will end, but decisions made in that board meeting don't end, right? So every ending is just a new beginning. Every decision is just another decision that will happen out of that. We're not ever finished making decisions or completing things until we draw our last breath. And then it's just not on this plane. It's just not on this visible plane. We're always being, existing, let's say. So I hope this has helped you or inspired you or at least been fun for you. It's fun for me to really kind of look at these words like following our bliss, look at these phrases and it's so easy to say, well, if I had the right job, I could follow my bliss, or if I had the right partner, I could follow my bliss, or if I had this, or if I did that, or if I was allowed to be there. It's so easy to fall into that trap because we hear other people doing it and we want to nod our head. Yeah, me too. Me too. But when we know when we know we can be, feel, sense, and know the truth of our being right here, right now, with nothing out there changing. That is freedom. That is bliss. I talk a lot about this in my book, Living Enlightened, the joy of integrating spirit, mind, and body. I encourage you to look at that book if you've enjoyed any of the podcasts. That book always felt to me like it was given to me. It was spoken through me at the times that I really needed to hear these words, and I would journal them and I would have meditations, and the meditations are in the book as well. And it just moved me into a new way of being. It's like every single chapter was a real point in my life where something shifted and moved and changed into experiencing this. Because as long as it's concepts or ideas, or as long as we're thinking about it, it's wonderful, don't get me wrong, but it's not the wholeness of being it, and allowing the fullness of our being, our conscious awareness of joy and peace and bliss and harmony to um, to move and inspire us to speak, or to respond rather than react, or to take a job or not take a job, or to participate in an activity or to not. When we are in the wholeness and fullness of our being, we know what to do. And even if it doesn't turn out the way we think it should or would, we move again. We make a new decision. We sit still another moment. And out of that comes inspiration. So, yeah, I guess I could talk about this more and more and more, and I probably will. I hope you join me. If you liked this, just hit like. I would appreciate that so much. Hit subscribe so you get the next one when it comes out, and maybe you want to share it with a friend, someone that you are inspired to help them love their life a little more and live their passion just a little more. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm so glad you're here with me. I hope this week you laugh, love, and follow your bliss all week long.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next Tuesday at 7 a.m. Mountain Time for Living Enlightened with Elizabeth Cantey. Integrating your spirit, mind, and body. Learn more at www.ntmedia.org.